What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the shop. Today I'm excited to bring you this new project. This is our 1980 Kawasaki KZ 550. We picked this bike up non-running from the previous owners, and they told us that basically they had bought it running and had ridden it around some, but the previous owner that they had bought it from said the carburetors needed to be rebuilt. So the people we bought it from, they attempted to rebuild the carburetors. I don't know if they did any internal damage or anything like that. I have no idea. All I do know is the story sounds consistent, because I can see where everything looks okay and looks like he got the cables back in the right order and everything like that. But I can see these boots, the carburetors aren't seated all the way into the boots. You see this little line right here? Hopefully y'all are picking that up. You can just see that it's not seated in all the way. And I'll take you around to the other side and we'll show you the one that is seated in all the way correctly, and you'll see, you know, kind of what it looks like and what it's supposed to look like. Apparently from my research and from a lot of other people's comments on these, that they're very sensitive to any kind of vacuum leak. If you have one of these inline 4-cylinder bikes that has 4 carburetors on it like this, and the boots start going bad or anything like that, they're not seated upright and they start sucking a little air, then they'll just run like a dog. They won't run right. So the boots on the front here look okay, although they may need to be replaced. That could be part of the problem. I won't know until I try to seat them myself and see what's going on. The previous owner did replace these rear boots here, the ones that go back to the air box, but the front ones are factory original, it looks like. So that could be the problem. I've actually read some stuff before where when you take these off, you're supposed to use a little RTV, you know, silicone gasket maker on the inside of them to seal them up better. So anyhow, we won't really know until we tear into this thing. It turns over great, no problems there. It sounds good internally when it's turning over, but I really want to hear it run. That's the moment of truth of whether or not you got a smoking deal or, you know, you got a parts bike. So anyhow, I'm real excited to bring you this. I've been waiting for the right day when it'd be warm enough and enough light out here in the shop where we can look at this. But you can see here, hopefully you can see, you almost can't see. This one is seated up in there properly, it looks like. It looks like this one is all the way in, and the other 2 or 3 are not all the way in. So we're gonna have to, you know, get some stuff out of our way, like the fuel tank. I'll probably go ahead and take the side covers, and I may take the seat off just to get it out of my way and keep it safe. All right, open up the seat and see if I can disconnect these fuel lines easily. I may have to lift the tank up a little so I can get to them better. Oh, that one already came off. One thing I'm noticing right away, these fuel lines feel very stiff. So that's not good. I'm probably going to have to replace the fuel lines. Grab myself a blunt instrument here so I can get this fuel line off without breaking a fingernail off. So yeah, I'm noticing the fuel line is very stiff. I'm certainly going to be changing these fuel lines out just for safety reasons. There we go. Yeah, that stuff's really, really stiff. So let's get this tank out of the way. Set that someplace safe. I'm just looking around at the boots from the top side because I wasn't able to see them and access them from that point earlier. Hopefully you can see that well enough. The seats are easy to take off on these. You just pull these little pins. Pull the cotter pins out, and then I can see I'm going to have to take that side cover off to get that pin out. And they just pop in with these plugs here. In fact, I'll go ahead and take this other bottom one off here. You just kind of wiggle them off. Okay. Now we can get that pin out. And the rear one. All right, that's it. Okay, since I think this carburetor here is seated in properly, I'm not going to loosen the clamp on this one. I'm only going to loosen the clamp on the other 3 carbs because I can see this one's not seated and the next 2 are not seated. So let me get my screwdriver and we'll loosen those boots up and see if we can't wiggle these things into the proper seated position. See if I can get to it with that one. Yes. So we're just going to loosen these clamps off so that we'll have some wiggle room on these carburetors. Okay, when you do it, you want to make sure you loosen those clamps up enough to where the clamps will swivel easily so that there's no tension on this rubber. Okay, that one just turned, so that's good. First, I'm just going to try to grab it by hand. And be careful if you got it on the center stand, not to push it off of the stand. I may have to chalk the front wheel. We'll see. I can feel them moving. Let's try this. Okay, I can see it moving. Not a lot of grip right there. Surely those rear ones aren't holding it that tight. I feel like I need like a block of wood or something, but I'm worried I'd break that plastic thing right there. I may have to try it. Let's see if this will work. I'm going to be very careful about this because I don't want to break anything. The middle ones are usually harder to get to. You angle your clamp down just a little bit so you can unscrew it next time. And you don't go crazy on these, but you want them good and snug. Definitely don't want them coming loose or sucking air. They didn't feel very tight whenever I initially started this deal here. I don't know if that's in far enough or not, guys. I guess we'll just have to try it and see how it goes. Okay. That feels good and it looks a little bit better. So hopefully that's the ticket right there. Just retighten these other two right quick like. Make sure they didn't move out of position. And they look good. Yeah, a lot of quality in these old Japanese bikes, man. I just love them. My very first motorcycle was a 82 or 83 KZ650, and I just loved it. It was just an awesome machine. Perfect for someone my age at that time. It was just perfect. Got me into motorcycles, street bikes. Okay, so I'll admit that didn't go as easily as I thought it was going to. I thought it would be able to just push them right up in there by hand. So you saw I had to use that pry bar, just wooden stick, to push them back up into place. Not sure why that would be, unless maybe these rubber boots on the front up here have shrunk up over time and they're not as long or as supple as they once were. So may have to order a set of those. And again, I'm not going crazy on this. I just want it good and snug. Okay. So now we should be able to drop the tank back on and at least pour some fuel in here and see what happens. All right, so I have the tank set back on and I have the really hard, brittle fuel lines shoved back onto the fittings. But that lower fuel line, whenever I shoved it on, it just barely felt like it was gripping anything. So I suspect that's going to be where the leak is coming from. I'm not sure if the previous owner caught that or not, or just maybe he just thought, oh, it's leaking out of the carburetors because that was the last thing I worked on. You got to be really careful about that. Sometimes you can end up chasing your own tail, thinking it was something you did, when in reality it was just, some other thing that, like the hose there, just being too brittle to get a good seal. So we'll see about that. I'm not sure. I'm not going to put a lot of fuel in it because I think it's just going to spill out right there. Okay, hopefully that'll be enough. I didn't put a whole lot in there, but we're going to let that set for just a second or two and see if there's enough in there to make it leak. There it goes. I don't know if you guys saw that, but as soon as I flipped it to reserve, which there's just barely any fuel in here. As soon as I flipped it reserve, this bottom fitting here started leaking. I might be able to get a gear clamp on there. Or if nothing else, I may just have to go buy some new fuel hose. All right, hopefully you'll be able to see a little better from what I was talking about there. That top hose seems to be holding and it seems to be okay, although it's really hard and crusty and dry. But that bottom hose has got splits on the end, and as soon as I turned on the reserve, which allowed fuel into that bottom port, it started leaking everywhere. So I think that's what happened. I think the guy probably put the carburetors back on, probably got frustrated. We've all been there where it takes you a lot longer, 3 or 4 times longer than you think to do the job, and you're shoving everything back together, and he turned the fuel on and it started leaking. He probably just assumed, oh, it's the carburetors leaking, and then he put it up for sale. I don't know. All right, so I'm gonna run over to one of the parts stores, probably AutoZone, because it's closest by to me, and I'm gonna see if I can get some hose. I doubt I'm gonna be able to get the clear stuff, but if I can just get some what looks like 1/4-inch hose, I should be able to at least get this thing to fire up and see what we got going on. So obviously I wasn't able to get replacement fuel line like this over at AutoZone. They don't have any of this clear stuff, or what once was clear, I guess. Now it's kind of yellowed and hard. I imagine this is original fuel line, and I think this is where a big part of the problem was definitely coming from. If you can't get fuel into the carburetors, you certainly aren't going to be able to get the thing to run. So I went down to AutoZone and I got some of this stuff here. This is 1/4-inch for the smaller line, and I got some 5/16 line for that larger line that goes down to the center of the carburetors. To hold them on, I took a tie wrap, because you can't really get a clamp in there like a gear clamp or anything because there's no room to work it. So I took a tie wrap and I tightened it up as tight as I could with some needle nose pliers by twisting the tie wrap, you know, in such a way where it pulls it as tight as it can. And now the hoses will not pull off. So I really like that. They fit really snug. I think this is going to be a good permanent solution, but we won't know until we try it out. So let's get the gas tank put on there and get these hoses cut to length and installed. Make sure to get those shoved all the way on. Okay, it's good. And this one's going to need to be cut down a little bit. I think I need to cut both of those down just a little bit more, because when I put it in, they're going uphill a little bit. You don't want your fuel line going uphill, you want it going downhill. So I'm going to take a little bit more off of this one. And this one, just about a 1/2 inch trim. Okay. So now I should be able to shove that back on. Now I could actually get gear clamps over here, and I might do that rather than tie wraps, just for safety reasons. Okay, see if this one's in the right position. Okay, I'm gonna have to shorten them up again. I'm not gonna bore you guys with that, so I'm gonna pause the video here. We'll come back when we have everything ready to fill up with gas. All right, guys, I installed the new fuel lines that I bought over at AutoZone, and I got them to hold on there without leaking. But I've got another fuel leak somewhere further down the line. I think it's in the T connection that goes between, it's basically the line that comes off of the fuel tank straight into the carburetors that's in the middle there. I don't know if there are some O-ring seals or something like that on each end of it, but it feels like it's a little bit sloppy side to side. So I'm guessing I'm gonna have to pull the carburetors off. But I wanted to see before we do that, I just dried up all the fuel that spilled, and I wanted to see if this thing would even fire up and make any noise for us. So let's see if it'll do anything. Okay, I see fuel pouring out. Okay, I see fuel pouring out over there, so I don't want to run it any longer in the risk that, you know, it could burst into flames. And also, you'll notice it was idling way high. So, anyway, we have ourselves a running bike, but I think I'm going to have to obviously I'm going to have to pull the carburetors off and like look around and see what's going on, see what the previous owner did. But I'm really stoked about this. It sounded good. The internals sounded good. I didn't hear any knocking or any clattering or anything like that. It fired right up. So guys, I'm really stoked about this. Hit the thumbs up if you like this video. Tune in, subscribe for more. Appreciate you tuning in. And until then, we'll see you next time. That'll do, pig.